Someone is getting paid right now for what you give away free. They are not smarter than you. They are not more talented. They simply learned one thing you have not learned yet. Your expertise has a price tag. You just have not claimed it. What if your name became the first one people thought of in your field? What if clients sought you out instead of you chasing them? What if your reputation did the selling while you slept? This is not fantasy. This is architecture. And you are about to learn the blueprints. Why do some people charge 10 times more for the same work? What do they know about visibility that you do not? There is a formula. It has been hidden in plain sight. By the end of this audiobook, you will own it. You have been taught to let your work speak for itself. That advice is bankrupting talented people every single day. The world does not reward the best. It rewards the best known. Time to become both. Over the next several hours, everything changes. You will build a brand that attracts money. You will create authority that compounds. You will design a legacy that outlives any job. One person, one brand, one empire. Let us begin. There is a tax you have been paying your entire career. You cannot see it on any statement. No accountant has ever itemized it, but it drains your bank account every single month, every single year, compounding against you while you wonder why success seems so much easier for everyone else. This is the invisibility tax. And until today, you did not even know it existed. Let me tell you about two people. They graduated from the same program, with the same credentials, in the same year. They possessed roughly equal skill levels. They entered the same industry with the same burning desire to succeed. 5 years later, one of them charges $400 per hour. The other charges $80. One of them has clients on a waiting list. The other scrambles for every project, constantly checking email, constantly wondering where the next paycheck will come from. The difference is not talent. The difference is not luck. The difference is that one of them understood something the other did not. In the reputation economy, being good is the baseline. Being known is the multiplier. Think about the last time you hired someone for a service. Think about the last time you recommended a professional to a friend. Did you conduct an exhaustive search through every qualified candidate? Did you carefully compare portfolios and credentials across dozens of options? Of course not. You thought of a name, maybe 2 or 3 names. You went with one of them. That is how humans make decisions. We do not optimize. We do not conduct comprehensive market analyses. We think of who we know, who we trust, who comes to mind, and then we act. This is not laziness. This is survival. Our brains are designed to conserve energy, to take shortcuts, to rely on heuristics. And the most powerful heuristic of all is familiarity. Known equals safe. Known equals trustworthy. Known equals good. The math is simple and brutal. If you are not in someone's mental considerations set, you cannot be chosen. It does not matter how skilled you are. It does not matter how much you deserve the opportunity. If they do not think of you, you do not exist in their decision-making process. You are invisible. And invisibility has a cost. It is the project that went to someone less qualified because they were more visible. It is the rate you could not charge because no one knew your name. It is the partnership you missed because you were not at the table. It is the compounding effect of all these missed opportunities, year after year, eroding your potential, like water wearing down stone. I want you to pause for a moment and consider something. Think about the last 3 significant opportunities that passed you by. the project you did not get, the promotion that went to someone else, the client who chose your competitor. How many of those outcomes were truly about capability, and how many were about visibility? For most people, when they conduct this honest accounting, the answer is uncomfortable. They realize they have been competing in a game while ignoring the most important rule. They have been bringing a knife to a gunfight, working harder and harder on their skills, while others worked smarter on their presence. Here is what the invisibility tax costs you in concrete terms. It costs you the premium pricing that comes with reputation. When clients seek you out, they pay your rates without negotiation. When you chase clients, you compete on price. It costs you the compound interest of referrals. Known people get recommended. Unknown people get forgotten. Every referral you miss is a branch of exponential growth that never occurs. It costs you the leverage in every negotiation. When you are the obvious choice, you negotiate from strength. When you are one option among many, you negotiate from weakness. It costs you the resilience of a reputation asset. When known people stumble, their track record speaks for them. When unknown people stumble, they have nothing to fall back on. Add it up. Really add it up. Not just this year, but over the course of a career. The invisibility tax might be the most expensive thing you never knew you were paying. But here is the good news. Unlike most taxes, this one is optional. You have been paying it because you did not know there was an alternative. You have been accepting it because no one told you there was another way. Now you know. And knowing changes everything. The reputation economy operates on different rules than you were taught. You were told to put your head down and do good work. You were told that cream rises to the top. You were told that if you just focused on excellence, recognition would find you. These are comforting lies. They are the stories we tell ourselves because they feel fair, because they suggest a meritocracy that rewards effort and skill. But look around. Look at who succeeds. Look at who gets chosen. It is not always the most talented. It is almost always the most visible. This does not mean you should abandon quality. Excellence is still the foundation. You cannot build a lasting reputation on empty promises and shallow self-promotion. But excellence alone is not enough. Excellence plus visibility is the formula. And most people are missing the second half of that equation. Think of visibility as a multiplier. If your skill level is a 10, but your visibility is a 2, your market value is 20. If your skill level is an 8, but your visibility is a 10, your market value is 80. The person with less skill and more visibility earns 4 times as much. This is not fair. This is not right, but this is real. And you can either complain about reality or adapt to it. There is another way to think about this. Consider 2 restaurants. One has incredible food, but is hidden down an unmarked alley with no signage. The other has very good food and sits on Main Street with beautiful windows and enticing aromas wafting onto the sidewalk. Which one survives? Which one thrives? The hidden restaurant might have the better chef, but the visible restaurant will have the better business, and eventually the hidden restaurant will close, its excellence unwitnessed, its potential unrealized. The world never got to taste what they had to offer. Do not let that be you. Do not let your potential go unrealized because you were too proud or too afraid or too uninformed to make yourself visible. Your talents deserve an audience. Your expertise deserves compensation. Your contribution deserves recognition. Here is a truth that might sting at first, but will liberate you once you accept it. You already have a brand. Whether you built it intentionally or not, you have a reputation. People have impressions of you. They have stories they tell themselves about who you are and what you do and whether you are worth their time and money. The question is not whether to have a brand. The question is whether to take control of that brand or let it be defined by accident, by rumor, by the fragmented impressions of people who do not know your full story. Right now, I want you to consider what your current brand might be. If someone asked your colleagues to describe you in 3 words, what would they say? If a potential client searched your name online, what would they find? If you left your current position tomorrow, what reputation would follow you? For many people, these questions reveal a gap between who they are and how they are perceived, a gap between what they can do and what people believe they can do, a gap between the value they deliver and the price they can command. This gap is costing you money. It is costing you opportunities. It is costing you the career and the life you actually deserve to have. But gaps can be closed. Brands can be built. Reputations can be transformed. And that is exactly what we are going to do over the course of this audiobook. I am not going to teach you to become someone you are not. I am not going to ask you to adopt some fake persona or engage in sleazy self-promotion that makes your skin crawl. What I am going to show you is how to take who you already are and make that person visible, credible, and valuable in the marketplace. Because here is the beautiful secret. You do not need to change who you are. You need to broadcast who you are. You do not need a different personality. You need a platform. You do not need to become a celebrity. You need to become known in the circles that matter to your goals. Let me tell you about the moment everything changed for someone I will call David. David was a financial consultant who had been in business for nearly 12 years. He was exceptionally skilled at what he did. His clients achieved remarkable results, but his practice was stagnant, and he could not understand why. When David came to me, he was frustrated. "I do great work," he said. "My clients are happy. They get real results, but I'm still hustling for every new client like I did on day one. I see other consultants in my space who frankly aren't as good as me, and they're booked solid. They're charging twice what I charge. What am I missing?" What David was missing was the same thing almost everyone misses. He thought his work should speak for itself. He believed that quality would naturally attract attention. He assumed that if he just kept his head down and delivered results, the world would eventually notice. 12 years. 12 years of waiting for the world to notice. 12 years of watching less capable competitors succeed because they understood something he did not. We had a conversation that changed his perspective. "David," I asked, "if someone needs what you offer and they've never heard of you, how do they find you?" He thought about it. "I guess through referrals," he said, "or maybe searching online." "And what do they find when they search online?" I continued. He pulled out his phone and searched his own name. His LinkedIn profile came up, along with a few scattered mentions. Nothing impressive, nothing memorable, nothing that would make someone choose him over anyone else. "Now, search your competitor," I suggested, "the one who charges twice as much." He did. What came up was different. Articles they had written, podcast appearances, speaking engagements, a professional website with case studies and testimonials, a clear message about who they helped and how. "That's the difference," I said. It's not that they're better than you, it's that they're everywhere. When someone thinks about the problem they solve, their name comes to mind. When someone searches for solutions, they show up. When someone asks for recommendations, they get mentioned. David sat with that for a long moment. "So, all this time," he said slowly, "I've been losing not because of my skills, but because of my absence." Exactly. His absence from the conversation, his absence from the consideration set, his absence from the mental shortlist that people consult when they need to make a decision. The good news for David, and the good news for you, is that absence can be corrected. Visibility can be built. The invisible can become seen. Within 6 months of implementing the strategies you are about to learn, David had doubled his rates and had a waiting list for his services. Not because his skills improved, his skills were always excellent, but because his visibility finally matched his value. This audiobook will show you how to achieve similar results, not through manipulation or false pretenses, but through strategic, authentic visibility that lets the world see what you truly have to offer. The framework we will use is called the Empire of One model. It consists of 4 interconnected pillars that work together to create a profitable personal brand. These pillars are identity, authority, visibility, and monetization. Each one builds on the others. Each one is necessary. None of them alone is sufficient. Identity is understanding exactly who you are, what you offer, and who you serve. It is crystallizing your unique value proposition in a way that makes you the obvious choice for a specific audience. Authority is establishing credibility in your domain. It is proving that you know what you are talking about, that you have done what you claim, that you can deliver on your promises. Visibility is being seen by the people who need to see you. It is showing up consistently where your audience gathers, in formats they consume, with messages that resonate. Monetization is converting all of that presence into actual revenue. It is designing offers that align with your brand and pricing that reflects your value. Most people who try to build personal brands fail because they focus on one pillar while neglecting the others. They post constantly on social media but have no clear identity. They have impressive credentials but zero visibility. They are visible and credible but have no idea how to actually make money from their presence. The Empire of One model ensures you build all 4 pillars simultaneously and strategically. It creates a complete structure, not a wobbly table missing a leg. Now I want to be clear about what this framework is and what it is not. This is not about becoming famous for the sake of fame. This is not about accumulating followers who never convert to clients. This is not about becoming an influencer in any traditional sense of that word. This is about becoming known by the right people for the right reasons in service of meaningful goals. It is strategic visibility, not vanity metrics. It is reputation as an asset, not ego as an indulgence. The goal is to build a brand that pays, not a brand that gets likes. Not a brand that wins applause. A brand that generates actual revenue, actual opportunities, actual career advancement. Everything we discuss will be in service of that practical, measurable outcome. Let me also address something that might be lurking in your mind. You might be thinking that this whole personal brand thing feels uncomfortable, that it seems self-promotional, in a way that does not align with your values, that you would rather just do good work and be recognized for your results. I understand that resistance. I have felt it myself. There is something beautiful about the idea that merit should be enough, that quality should rise to the surface, that we should not have to sell ourselves like products on a shelf. But here is what I have come to believe. Making yourself visible is not vanity. It is service. If you have something valuable to offer, something that can help people, solve problems, improve lives, then hiding that is not humility. Hiding that is selfishness. Think about it. If you know something that could help someone and you keep it to yourself, who benefits? No one. But if you make yourself visible, if you share what you know, if you let people find you, then your knowledge can actually do some good in the world. Visibility is not about making yourself important. It is about making yourself available. Available to help. Available to contribute. Available to the people who need exactly what you have to offer. When you reframe visibility this way, it stops being about ego and starts being about impact. It stops being self-promotion and starts being service. It stops being uncomfortable and starts being necessary. So let us agree to set aside the false modesty that keeps capable people small. Let us agree that you have something worth sharing. Let us agree that the world deserves to know about it. Now we can begin building your empire. The foundation of any lasting personal brand is a clear, specific, ownable identity. This is where most people go wrong from the start. They remain vague about who they are and what they offer, hoping to appeal to everyone. In trying to appeal to everyone, they appeal to no one. Think about the brands you remember, whether corporate or personal. They stand for something specific. They serve someone specific. They have a point of view, an approach, a distinct way of showing up in the world. You know what they are about. You know who they are for. You know why they are different. Vague brands are forgettable. Specific brands are memorable. This is not just marketing theory. This is how human memory works. We remember what is distinctive. We forget what is generic. So the first task in building your empire is to get ruthlessly specific about your identity. Who are you? What do you do? For whom? And why does it matter? Let us start with a concept I call the only you audit. This is an exploration of what makes you irreplaceable. Not what makes you good, but what makes you unique. The combination of experiences, perspectives, skills, and attributes that no one else on the planet possesses. You might be thinking that nothing about you is unique, that plenty of people do what you do, that there is nothing special about your particular combination of qualities. This is almost certainly false. But even if it were true for individual attributes, the combination is always unique. The specific mixture of your background, your experiences, your approach, your personality, your values, your voice, there is only one version of that mixture in existence: you. The question is not whether you are unique. The question is whether you have identified and articulated your uniqueness in a way that creates market value. Let me give you an example. Say you are a marketing consultant. There are thousands of marketing consultants. On the surface, you look like everyone else. But dig deeper. Maybe you spent 10 years in the healthcare industry before becoming a consultant. Maybe you have a background in psychology. Maybe you specialize in product launches. Maybe you are particularly skilled at working with technical founders who struggle to explain their products. Each of these specifics narrows your market. But narrowing your market is exactly what you want to do, because a narrow market can be dominated. A broad market can only be competed in. The healthcare marketing consultant is competing against every other marketing consultant. But the marketing consultant who specializes in product launches for healthcare startups founded by technical experts, that person owns a niche. That person is the obvious choice for a specific audience. That person can charge premium rates because there is no direct comparison. Here is how to begin your Only You audit. I want you to think about several categories and identify what is distinctive about you in each one. First, think about your origin story. Where did you come from? What experiences shaped you? What challenges did you overcome? What unusual path led you to where you are now? Origin stories are powerful because they explain motivation and create emotional connection. Second, think about your methodology. How do you approach problems? What frameworks have you developed? What is your process? If you have a distinctive way of doing things, if you have developed tools or approaches that are uniquely yours, that is intellectual property you can own. Third, think about your perspective. What do you believe that others in your field do not? What conventional wisdom do you reject? What unpopular opinions do you hold about how things should be done? A distinct point of view differentiates you more than credentials ever could. Fourth, think about your intersection. What unusual combination of skills or experiences do you possess? What fields have you worked in that rarely overlap? Innovation often happens at intersections. So does unique positioning. Fifth, think about your transformation. Who were you before and who did you become? What change did you go through that taught you what you now teach others? The best teachers are often those who struggled with the very thing they now help others master. As you explore these categories, you are not looking for one thing that makes you unique. You are looking for the combination, the specific intersection of multiple factors that creates your distinctive identity. Let me tell you about how this worked for someone I will call Rebecca. Rebecca was a life coach, which is one of the most crowded and least differentiated markets imaginable. When she first described herself, she sounded like every other life coach. I help people achieve their goals and live their best lives. This messaging was so vague, it was essentially meaningless. We went through the Only You audit together. Her origin story revealed that she had spent 15 years as an emergency room nurse before burning out and completely reinventing her life. Her methodology involved what she called triage thinking, applying the prioritization skills from emergency medicine to life decisions. Her perspective was that most people treat everything as equally important when the key to peace and productivity is ruthless prioritization. Her intersection combined healthcare, crisis management, and personal development in an unusual way. By the time we finished, Rebecca was no longer a life coach. She was the burnout recovery expert for healthcare professionals, using ER triage principles to help them reclaim their lives. Same person, same skills, but now a distinct, ownable identity that immediately differentiated her from thousands of competitors. Her website changed. Her messaging changed. Her client base changed. The healthcare professionals who found her felt like she understood their world in a way no generic life coach could. She was one of them. She spoke their language. She had walked their path. That is the power of a specific identity. It does not limit you. It liberates you into a space you can own. Now, I want you to begin this process for yourself. As you listen, start thinking about your own answers to the Only You audit. What is your origin story? What is your methodology? What is your perspective? What is your intersection? What is your transformation? You do not need to have all the answers right now. This is the beginning of a process, not the end. But I want you to start thinking in these terms. Start noticing what makes you different. Start paying attention to the reactions you get when you share your unique approach. The goal is to eventually craft what I call a positioning statement. This is a clear, concise articulation of who you help and how. A classic formula is, I help X do Y so they can Z. X is your specific audience. Y is the transformation you provide. Z is the ultimate benefit they receive. But even better than this formula is something that captures your unique approach, not just what you do, but how you do it differently. Not just who you serve, but why you are the obvious choice for them. This positioning statement will become the foundation of everything else. Your website will communicate it. Your content will reinforce it. Your conversations will naturally lead to it. It is the core message that makes you memorable and distinctive. Take time with this. Do not rush to a mediocre positioning statement just to have one. A vague position is worse than no position because it creates expectations you cannot live up to. A strong position is specific enough to polarize, which means some people will not be right for you. That is not a bug. That is a feature. The people who are right for you will feel like you are speaking directly to them. That is the goal. Not mass appeal. Specific resonance. The feeling that you get them in a way no one else does. Once your identity is clear, the next pillar is authority. This is where many people get stuck because they believe authority must be bestowed. They believe you need certain credentials, certain achievements, certain validations from external institutions before you can claim expertise. This is backwards. Authority is not bestowed. Authority is constructed. It is built through deliberate actions over time. And you can start building it right now, regardless of what credentials you currently possess. Let me share an important reframe. You do not need to be the world's leading expert to have authority. You do not need decades of experience. You do not need advanced degrees. You need to know more than the people you are trying to help. That is a much lower bar than most people realize. If you are one chapter ahead of your audience, you have enough authority to teach that chapter. If you have solved a problem they are currently facing, you have enough authority to help them solve it. The myth that you need to be at the absolute pinnacle of your field before you can speak is just that, a myth. One that keeps qualified people silent, while less qualified but more visible people capture the market. Think about authority as a stack. Multiple layers that build on each other to create overall credibility. The layers include education, which is formal credentials and certifications. Experience, which is practical work in the field over time. Evidence, which is results you have achieved and can demonstrate. And endorsement, which is what others say about you. Most people over-rely on education and experience while neglecting evidence and endorsement. But here is the reality. In the court of public opinion, evidence and endorsement matter more. What you have done speaks louder than where you studied. What others say about you carries more weight than what you say about yourself. This is good news, because evidence and endorsement are largely within your control. You can create results, you can document them, you can gather testimonials, you can earn recommendations. These forms of authority are available to you right now, regardless of your formal credentials. Let me tell you a story about what I call the bootstrap method. This is how you establish proof before you have proof. It sounds paradoxical, but it works. A woman I will call Lisa wanted to establish herself as a productivity consultant for creative professionals. She had no track record in this area. She had never been paid to consult on productivity. She had no testimonials, no case studies, no evidence that she could deliver results. She started by approaching 3 creative professionals she knew personally. She offered them free productivity coaching for 3 months in exchange for 2 things: complete honesty about the process, and if they got results, a detailed testimonial. All 3 agreed. Over the next 3 months, Lisa delivered real value. She was working for free, but she was gathering priceless assets: documentation of her process, evidence of the results, testimonials from satisfied clients. After those 3 months, Lisa had everything she needed to present herself as a credible productivity consultant. She had case studies, she had testimonials, she had confidence born from actual experience, she had refined her methodology through practice. She took on 3 more clients, this time at a low rate. Same process, more evidence, better testimonials, refined methodology, growing confidence. 6 months after starting with nothing, Lisa had a portfolio of evidence that would take most people years to accumulate. She had created proof before she had proof, then let the proof compound. You can do the same thing. Identify people you can help right now. Help them. Document the results. Gather testimonials. Use those assets to attract clients who will pay. Use those clients to gather more evidence. Let the flywheel spin. Beyond the bootstrap method, there are numerous ways to actively construct authority. Let me walk through the most powerful ones. Content is perhaps the most scalable authority builder. When you share what you know, you accomplish multiple goals simultaneously. You demonstrate expertise. You provide value. You give people a taste of what working with you might be like. You create artifacts that persist and spread. The consultant who has written 50 articles on their specialty has 50 pieces of evidence that they know what they are talking about. The consultant who has written nothing has only their word. Which one would you trust more? Content does not need to be complicated. It does not need to be viral. It just needs to consistently demonstrate that you have knowledge worth paying for. Over time, this accumulation of content creates an impression of expertise that is almost impossible to achieve any other way. There is a particular form of content that punches above. Its weight in authority building, the in-depth guide. While short-form content establishes presence, long-form comprehensive guides establish expertise. When you create the definitive resource on a topic, you become the go-to authority on that topic. Think about topics in your field where comprehensive, high-quality guides do not exist, or where existing resources are outdated or incomplete. Creating that guide positions you as the authority. People link to it. They reference it. They share it. They remember you as the person who created it. One definitive guide can do more for your authority than 100 short posts. Another powerful approach is what I call public problem solving. This means working through real problems in public, showing your thought process, demonstrating how you approach challenges. This could be case study breakdowns, live problem-solving sessions, or behind-the-scenes looks at your work. Public problem-solving establishes authority because it shows rather than tells. Anyone can claim to be an expert. Showing your expertise in action is far more convincing. It also builds trust because it reveals your methodology, making you transparent rather than mysterious. Teaching is another powerful authority builder. When you teach something, you are implicitly positioned as an expert. You cannot teach what you do not know. So the act of teaching establishes your knowledge in the minds of observers. Teaching can take many forms: speaking at industry events, leading workshops, creating courses, guest lecturing, mentoring. Anytime you are in the position of sharing knowledge, you are building authority. There is a particular kind of teaching that is especially powerful: teaching other experts. When you teach beginners, it establishes you as knowledgeable. When you teach other experts, it establishes you as exceptional. Look for opportunities to present to sophisticated audiences, to write for publications read by peers, to speak at conferences where the audience consists of experienced professionals. Publishing takes authority building to another level. A book, even a short one, confers instant credibility. Articles in respected publications do the same. Being quoted in media establishes you as someone worth listening to. These forms of publishing create what I call third-party validation. Someone else has decided you are credible enough to publish, which transfers some of their credibility to you. The book is worth special attention. For many fields, having a book is a differentiator. Not everyone has written a book. Not everyone can point to that tangible artifact and say, "I literally wrote the book on this topic." The book does not have to be published by a major publisher. Self-publishing is completely respectable. The book does not have to be long. Concise and valuable beats lengthy and diluted. But having that book opens doors. It becomes a credential that works for you indefinitely. Association is an often overlooked authority builder. Who you are connected with reflects on you. If you are associated with respected people and institutions, some of their authority transfers to you. This is why strategic networking matters. It is not just about who can help you directly, but about how. Association with others shapes perception of you. This works in multiple directions. Being interviewed by respected people elevates you. Interviewing respected people gives you access to their audience and associates you with them. Being featured alongside respected names at events puts you in their category. Having your work endorsed or recommended by respected figures borrows their credibility. When I say association, I do not mean name-dropping or false claims of connection. I mean genuine relationships where the association is real and mutual. Building these relationships takes time and requires offering value. But once built, they become significant authority assets. Finally, results are the ultimate authority builder. Nothing speaks louder than demonstrated outcomes. If you can show that you have solved the problems your audience faces, you have all the authority you need. This is why documenting your wins is so important. Every result is an asset. Every success is evidence. Capture it. Share it. Let it do the heavy lifting of establishing your credibility. Now, let me be clear about something. Authority building is a long game. You do not establish expertise overnight, but you can start today. Every piece of content you create, every person you teach, every result you document, these compound over time. The authority you build now will still be working for you years from now. Think about authority as an investment account. Every deposit earns interest. The earlier you start depositing, the more compound growth you achieve. But unlike a financial account, authority has no cap. It can keep growing indefinitely as long as you keep contributing. This brings us to the third pillar, visibility. You can have a crystal-clear identity and rock-solid authority, but if no one can see you, none of it matters. Visibility is what connects your value to the people who need it. I want to start with an important distinction. There is a difference between being seen and being seen by the right people. Vanity metrics will have you chasing raw numbers, followers, likes, views, without regard for who is actually paying attention. Strategic visibility is about being present where your specific audience gathers, in formats they consume, with messages that resonate with their specific needs. 100,000 followers who will never buy anything are worth less than 1,000 followers who are perfect prospects for what you offer. The goal is not maximum visibility. The goal is maximum relevant visibility. So, where does your audience actually spend their time? What platforms do they use? What content do they consume? What events do they attend? What publications do they read? These questions matter more than generic advice about being on every platform. If your audience is corporate executives, they are probably on LinkedIn more than Instagram. If your audience is creative professionals, they might be on Instagram more than LinkedIn. If your audience is developers, they might be on Twitter and GitHub and specific forums. If your audience is local business owners, they might be at Chamber of Commerce, events, and reading industry newsletters. Go where your people are. This sounds obvious, but I see people constantly violating this principle. They choose platforms based on what is trendy or what feels comfortable, rather than where their specific audience actually gathers. This wastes enormous amounts of time and energy. Once you know where to show up, the next question is how to show up. This is where content pillars come in. Content pillars are the core themes you will consistently address in your visibility efforts. They should align with your positioning and demonstrate your authority while providing genuine value to your audience. A good rule is 3 to 5 content pillars, few enough to maintain focus, enough to provide variety. Each piece of content you create should fit within one of these pillars. This creates coherence in your presence. People start to know what to expect from you. They associate you with specific topics. This is exactly what you want. For example, if you are a leadership consultant, your content pillars might be managing difficult conversations, building high-performance teams, developing executive presence, and navigating organizational politics. Every piece of content addresses one of these themes. Over time, you become known as the go-to person for these specific aspects of leadership. Consistency is the key variable in visibility. I cannot emphasize this enough. Showing up once is worthless. Showing up occasionally is barely better. Showing up consistently over time is what builds presence and recognition. Think about the formula. Frequency times quality times longevity. All three matter. Frequency means showing up regularly enough to stay top of mind. Quality means providing genuine value each time you show up. Longevity means doing this over a sustained period, months and years, not days and weeks. Most people who fail at visibility fail on longevity. They start strong, get discouraged when immediate results do not materialize, and quit before the compound effect kicks in. Do not be one of those people. Commit to a visibility practice you can sustain indefinitely, even if it means doing less at first. I want to share a visualization with you. Close your eyes if you can do so safely, or simply let your focus soften. Imagine yourself 1 year from now. Your visibility efforts have been consistent for 12 full months. You have shown up regularly, providing value, demonstrating expertise, serving your audience. Picture what happens when someone in your target market has the problem you solve. They think of you first. Your name surfaces immediately because they have seen you consistently for a year. They have read your content. They have absorbed your perspective. You are not a stranger. You are a trusted resource. Picture your inbox. It contains inquiries from people who found you online, who discovered your content, who heard about you from someone else. These are not cold leads you had to chase. These are warm prospects who sought you out. They already believe in your credibility because they have witnessed your authority for months. Picture a conversation at an industry event. Someone mentions the challenge you address, and another person says, "Oh, you have to talk to." And they say your name because you are known, because your visibility has made you the obvious recommendation. Picture your confidence. The imposter syndrome has faded because you have evidence now. Evidence of impact, evidence of reach, evidence that your knowledge matters to real people. You no longer wonder if you have anything valuable to offer. You know you do because people keep telling you so. This is the future that consistent visibility creates. It is not fantasy. It is arithmetic. Show up plus provide value, plus do it consistently, plus give it time equals recognition and opportunity. The formula works. You just have to work the formula. Now open your eyes and return to the present. That future is available to you. It starts with the visibility commitments you make today. Let me talk about the practical mechanics of sustainable visibility. Most people approach content creation in the worst possible way. They sit down when they feel inspired, struggle to come up with ideas, spend hours crafting a single piece, post it, and then disappear for weeks. This approach is exhausting and ineffective. A better approach is systematic. It involves idea capture, batching, and repurposing. Idea capture means having a system to collect content ideas whenever they occur to you. This might be a note on your phone, a voice memo app, a dedicated notebook. The point is that ideas come at random moments, in the shower, during a conversation, while reading. If you do not capture them, they disappear. If you do capture them, you build an inventory of material to draw from. Batching means creating content in focused sessions rather than in scattered moments. If you write one LinkedIn post every day, that is 30 sessions of context switching per month. If you write all 30 posts in 2 focused sessions, that is 2 sessions of deep work. Same output, far less friction. Batching respects how creative work actually happens and makes consistency far more achievable. Repurposing means getting multiple pieces of content from single ideas. A blog post becomes a series of social media posts. A webinar becomes video clips, a podcast episode, and an article. A client success story becomes a case study, testimonials, and social proof. When you repurpose strategically, you multiply your visibility without multiplying your effort. The combination of idea capture, batching, and repurposing allows you to maintain consistent visibility without it becoming a full-time job. This matters because you are building an empire of one. You do not have a content team. You do not have a marketing department. You have you. And you need systems that make visibility sustainable for a single person. Now let us talk about something that builds on visibility but goes beyond it. Trust. You can be visible without being trusted. You can have attention without having loyalty. The fourth dimension of presence is converting visibility into genuine trust. Trust is what transforms a follower into a client, a reader into a referral source, a casual observer into an advocate. Without trust, visibility is just noise. With trust, visibility becomes influence. How is trust built? Not through proclamation. You cannot announce yourself as trustworthy and have people believe it. Trust is built through consistent behavior over time. It is the accumulation of small deposits, promises kept, value delivered, expectations met or exceeded. Think about the people you trust in your own life. How did they earn that trust? Almost certainly not through a single dramatic gesture. More likely through 100 small moments of reliability, honesty, and care. They showed up when they said they would. They did what they said they would do. They told you the truth even when it was uncomfortable. Over time, these small deposits built an account of trust that you now draw from. Your audience is evaluating you the same way. Every piece of content is a small test. Does this person know what they are talking about? Does this person seem honest? Does this person seem like someone I could work with? Each piece of content that passes the test makes a small deposit. Over time, these deposits add up to trust. This is why consistency matters so much. Every time you show up, you make a deposit. Every time you disappear, you make a withdrawal. The people who build the most trust are those who show up relentlessly, through good times and bad, when it is convenient and when it is not. Vulnerability is a counterintuitive trust builder. Many people believe that projecting perfection builds trust. They hide their struggles, minimize their mistakes, present a polished facade. This is backwards. Perfection is not relatable. Perfection creates distance. When you only show your wins, people might admire you, but they will not connect with you. Connection requires humanity, and humanity includes struggle. When you share your challenges, your mistakes, your lessons learned the hard way, you become relatable. Your audience sees themselves in your journey. They think, if they struggled with that and overcame it, maybe I can too. This creates a bond that perfection never could. Now, there is a balance here. Vulnerability is not emotional dumping. It is not oversharing every struggle in real time. Strategic vulnerability means sharing struggles after you have processed them enough to draw lessons. It means revealing enough to connect without revealing so much that you seem unstable or unprofessional. It means being human without being a mess. Promise-keeping is perhaps the most fundamental trust builder. Every commitment you make is a promise. Every deadline you set, every claim you post, every result you hint at. When you keep those promises, trust builds. When you break them, trust erodes. This is why it is important to under-promise and over-deliver. Say you will deliver on Tuesday and deliver on Monday. Say you will send 5 ideas and send 7. Say it will take an hour and finish in 45 minutes. Each of these small overshoots makes a deposit. Each time you exceed expectations, you build trust. The inverse is equally true. Promise Tuesday and deliver Wednesday. Say 5 ideas and send 3. Estimate an hour and take 2. Each of these misses makes a withdrawal. Even small misses accumulate. Over time, they erode trust in ways that are hard to recover from. This might sound obvious, but look around at how many people chronically overpromise. They are so eager to impress that they commit to more than they can deliver. Then they disappoint. Then they have to rebuild trust from a deficit. Do not be one of these people. Protect your promises like you are protecting your reputation, because you are. Let me tell you about someone who learned this lesson the hard way. A woman I will call Jennifer had built a respectable following as a productivity consultant. She was known for her practical advice and her responsive engagement with her audience. Then she launched a course. In her enthusiasm, she promised more than she could deliver. Weekly live calls that became sporadic, a community that went neglected, bonuses that arrived months late. The course content itself was good, but the broken promises overshadowed the value. Complaints started appearing, refund requests increased. Her reputation, built over years, took damage that took much longer to repair than it did to inflict. I learned that reputation is fragile, Jennifer told me later. All those small deposits I made over years of consistent content, they can be withdrawn in a matter of weeks when you break trust. I thought the quality of the content would carry me through the operational problems. It didn't. People remembered the broken promises more than they remembered the good information. Jennifer rebuilt. It took 2 years of meticulous promise-keeping, 2 years of under-promising and over-delivering on everything, 2 years of slowly depositing back into the trust account she had drained. She is successful again now, but she never forgot the lesson. The lesson is this: your reputation is your most valuable asset. Treat every promise as sacred. If you cannot deliver something, do not promise it. If circumstances change and you cannot keep a promise, communicate immediately and make it right. The short-term discomfort of honesty is nothing compared to the long-term damage of broken trust. There is another dimension to trust building that we should explore: the role of values. Your audience does not just want to know that you are competent. They want to know what you stand for, what principles guide your decisions, what lines you will not cross, what beliefs animate your work. When your values are clear and consistently demonstrated, they become a trust accelerator. People who share those values feel an instant kinship. They trust you faster because they understand your motivations. They forgive mistakes more readily because they believe in your underlying intentions. Values also serve as a filter. They attract the right people and repel the wrong ones. If you value deep work over superficial productivity hacks, you will attract an audience that shares that value. If you value long-term relationships over quick transactions, clients who want quick transactions will self-select out. This filtering creates a community of aligned individuals, which is much easier to serve than a random collection of strangers. How do you communicate values? Primarily through action. Values proclaimed but not practiced are meaningless, maybe even damaging because they reveal hypocrisy. Your values are demonstrated in the topics you address, the advice you give, the stands you take, the behaviors you model. They are embedded in everything you do, but it also helps to articulate them explicitly. A values statement on your website. Content that explores why you believe what you believe. Stories that illustrate your values in action. This explicit articulation helps your audience understand you faster. It accelerates the trust-building process by making your motivations transparent. Consider what values define your brand. What do you believe about your field that others might not? What principles guide how you work? What matters to you beyond money and success? These are not marketing questions. These are identity questions. Answer them honestly, and you have the foundation for values-driven branding. Community is another dimension of trust. There is a difference between building an audience and building a community. An audience consumes your content. A community connects with each other around your content. An audience is passive. A community is active. An audience feels distant. A community feels like belonging. When people feel like they belong to something larger, their trust in the leader of that community deepens. They are not just trusting you as an individual, they are trusting the shared identity that your brand represents. This is a more resilient form of trust because it is reinforced by social bonds, not just individual experience. Building community takes more effort than building audience. It requires creating opportunities for interaction. It requires facilitating connections. It requires nurturing a culture. But the trust dividend is enormous. Community members become advocates. They defend you when you are criticized. They recommend you without being asked. They stay loyal through ups and downs. Now we turn to the pillar that brings everything together: monetization. This is where identity, authority, visibility, and trust convert into actual revenue. Without monetization, everything else is just an expensive hobby. I want to start with a mindset shift. Many people feel uncomfortable with monetization. They feel that charging for their expertise is somehow distasteful, that money corrupts the purity of their work, that they should give away value freely. This mindset is financially destructive and philosophically confused. Value deserves compensation. When someone pays for your expertise, they are not just buying information. They are buying implementation, support, accountability, access, transformation. These things have real worth. Charging for them is not greedy. It is fair. Moreover, money enables more impact. When your work is compensated, you can sustain it. You can improve it. You can reach more people. You can invest in your own development. The starving artist who gives everything away for free eventually has nothing left to give. The well-compensated expert can keep giving indefinitely. So let us set aside the discomfort around monetization and approach it strategically. The question is not whether to charge, but how to structure your revenue in a way that aligns with your brand and serves your goals. There are several broad categories of revenue for personal brands. Services are where you exchange your time and expertise for money directly. This includes consulting, coaching, freelancing, speaking, and similar activities. Services typically offer the highest hourly rates, but are limited by your available time. Products are where you package your expertise into something that can be sold without your direct involvement. This includes books, courses, templates, software, and similar offerings. Products can scale beyond your time, but typically require upfront investment to create. Partnerships are where you align with other brands in exchange for compensation. This includes sponsorships, affiliate relationships, brand ambassadorships, and joint ventures. Partnerships leverage your audience and trust for revenue without requiring you to create the underlying product or service. Passive income refers to revenue that comes in without ongoing effort. This includes royalties, licensing fees, investments, and recurring subscriptions. Passive income is the holy grail, but usually requires significant upfront work to establish. Most successful personal brands combine multiple revenue streams from these categories. This diversification provides stability and maximizes the value of your brand. If one stream dries up, others continue flowing. If one stream has high margins but low volume, another might have lower margins but higher volume. Let me walk you through a framework I call the value ladder. This is a way of structuring your offers so that there is a natural progression from first contact to premium engagement. At the bottom of the ladder is free content. This is your visibility engine. Blog posts, social media, podcasts, videos. People discover you here. They get value without paying. They start to trust you. This is not revenue, but it is the foundation that makes revenue possible. One step up is low-cost products. These might be books, mini-courses, templates, or small workshops. The price is low enough that it is an easy decision for someone who has enjoyed your free content. This is often where people make their first purchase. It is a test. If the low-cost product delivers value, trust increases, and they are ready for more. The middle of the ladder is medium investment offerings. These might be comprehensive courses, group programs, or limited consulting packages. The price is significant enough to require consideration, but not so high as to be inaccessible. People who have bought your low-cost products and gotten value are ready for this level. Near the top is high investment offerings. These might be one-on-one consulting, intensive coaching packages, or done-for-you services. The price is substantial, and the value is personalized. Only a subset of your audience will reach this level, but those who do represent significant revenue. At the very top is premium or exclusive offerings. These might be retainers, advisory roles, equity arrangements, or exclusive access. Only your most committed clients reach this level. But for those who do, the value exchange is transformational for both parties. The beauty of a value ladder is that it meets people where they are. Someone who has never heard of you can start with free content. Someone who is ready to invest can jump to higher levels. There is a path from first discovery to deepest engagement, and people can progress at their own pace. This also solves the pricing dilemma many people face. Instead of trying to find one price that works for everyone, you have multiple price points for different levels of engagement. The person who can only afford a book can buy the book. The person who wants intensive help can pay for intensive help. Everyone gets to participate at a level appropriate for them. Pricing is one of the most psychologically loaded aspects of monetization. Most people undercharge dramatically, especially when they are starting out. They price based on their own financial situation rather than the value they provide. They compare themselves to the cheapest option in the market rather than positioning against the value of the outcome. Let me share a principle that might transform how you think about pricing. Price is a signal. When you charge premium prices, you are communicating something about the value you provide. You are saying, "What I offer is worth significant investment." When you charge low prices, you are communicating the opposite. You are saying, "What I offer is not particularly valuable." This signal affects how people perceive you. It affects what kinds of clients you attract. It affects how seriously those clients take your work. Paradoxically, premium prices often lead to better outcomes because clients who pay more are more invested in implementing what they learn. Think about it from your own experience. Have you ever bought a cheap course and never completed it? Have you ever paid a lot for coaching and shown up fully because you had skin in the game? Price affects behavior. Higher prices often drive higher engagement. I am not saying to charge arbitrarily high prices. I am saying to price based on value, not cost. What is the outcome worth to your client? What problem are you solving, and what is that solution worth? What transformation are you providing, and what would someone pay for that transformation? When you frame pricing around value rather than time or effort, Your rates should increase significantly. You are not charging for hours. You are charging for outcomes. And outcomes can be extremely valuable. Let me walk through a practical example of value-based pricing. Say you are a consultant who helps small businesses improve their operations. If you price based on time, you might charge $200 per hour. A 20-hour project brings in $4,000. But what if that project helps the business save $50,000 per year in operational costs, or helps them increase revenue by $100,000? Suddenly, your $4,000 fee looks absurdly low. You have created value worth many times what you charged. The client got a fantastic deal, but you left money on the table. Value-based pricing would approach this differently. You would understand the expected outcome of your work. You would quantify it as specifically as possible. Then you would price as a percentage of that value, typically somewhere between 5 and 20%. If your work saves $50,000, a fee of $5,000 to $10,000 is reasonable. The client still gets a fantastic return, but you capture more of the value you create. Everyone wins. This requires confidence. It requires being able to articulate value clearly. It requires being willing to walk away from clients who do not value what you offer, but it dramatically increases your earning potential without requiring you to work more hours. Another approach to pricing is tiered offerings. Instead of one price for one service, you offer multiple levels at different price points. A basic level provides core value at an accessible price. A premium level provides enhanced value with more access or depth. An exclusive level provides the highest value with the most personalization. Tiered pricing accomplishes several things. It captures different segments of your market. Some people want the basic offering and would never pay for premium. Some people want premium but not exclusive. Some people want the best available, regardless of price. By offering tiers, you serve all of them. Tiered pricing also creates an anchor effect. When someone sees that your exclusive offering costs $10,000, your premium offering at $3,000 seems more reasonable. The presence of the higher tier makes the middle tier more attractive, and tiered pricing provides an upgrade path. Someone might start with your basic offering. They get value. They trust you more. Now they are ready to invest in the premium tier. Later, they might move to exclusive. You have a relationship that grows over time rather than a one-time transaction. Think about how you might structure tiers for your own offerings. What would a basic version include? What would premium add? What would exclusive provide? This structure turns one offer into 3, each serving a different segment and need. Now let us discuss the psychology of buying, because understanding it will make you a better seller of your own offerings. People buy based on emotion and justify with logic. They feel something first, a desire, a fear, a vision of a better future. Then they rationalize that feeling with logical reasons. Your marketing needs to address both dimensions. Create the emotional resonance first, then provide the logical justification. People buy when the perceived value exceeds the perceived cost. Notice I said perceived, not actual. Perception is reality in this context. You can increase perceived value through better communication of benefits. You can decrease perceived cost through payment plans, guarantees, and risk reduction. Both levers affect the buying decision. People buy from people they know, like, and trust. This is why brand building matters. All the visibility and authority work you do increases the likelihood that someone will choose you over alternatives. By the time they are ready to buy, they already feel like they know you. The sale becomes a natural next step, not a persuasion battle. People buy when the timing is right. They need to have the problem you solve. They need to have the resources to invest. They need to be ready to take action. You cannot control timing, but you can maintain presence so that when timing aligns, you are the one they think of. This is another argument for consistent visibility over time. People buy when the offer matches their self-identity. We purchase things that reinforce how we see ourselves. Your marketing should speak to the identity your audience aspires to, not just what they will get, but who they will become. The transformation should be identity level, not just circumstantial. Understanding these principles does not make you manipulative. It makes you effective. You are still offering genuine value. You are still serving real needs. You are just communicating in a way that resonates with how humans actually make decisions. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to effortlessly attract opportunities while others struggle despite equal capability? The answer often lies in how they create and consume content. Not just what they say, but how they say it and how sustainably they say it. The content engine is what allows you to maintain visibility and authority over the long term without burning out. Most people approach content creation like a sprint. They pour energy into a burst of activity, exhaust themselves, disappear, then feel guilty about disappearing, then force another burst of activity, then exhaust themselves again. This cycle is miserable and ineffective. A sustainable content engine treats content creation like a system, not an event. It has inputs, processes, and outputs that work together smoothly. Let me walk you through how to build one. The inputs are your ideas. Where do ideas come from? They come from your expertise, your observations, your conversations, your reading, your thinking. The key is to capture them when they occur, rather than trying to generate them on demand. I recommend an idea capture system that is always accessible. This might be a notes app on your phone, a voice recorder, a small notebook you carry. Whenever an idea occurs to you, capture it. Do not evaluate it. Do not develop it. Just capture it. Evaluation and development come later. What kinds of things should you capture? Questions people ask you repeatedly. These indicate topics that confuse your audience and need clarification. Problems you observe in your field. These indicate opportunities to provide solutions. Mistakes you see others making. These indicate warnings you can offer. Things you wish you had known earlier. These indicate wisdom you can share. Responses to content you consume. These indicate your unique perspective on existing conversations. When you have an active capture habit, you will never lack for content ideas. You will have the opposite problem, more ideas than you can possibly execute. This is a good problem to have. It means you can choose the best ideas rather than scrambling for any idea. The process is how you transform ideas into content. This is where batching becomes powerful. Rather than creating content piecemeal throughout the week, set aside dedicated content creation blocks where you can focus deeply. During a batching session, you review your captured ideas, select the ones you want to develop, and create multiple pieces in sequence. Because you are in a creative mode already, the second piece comes easier than if you had to restart from scratch. The third, easier still. You might create a week's worth of content in a single, focused session. The output is your content distributed across your chosen platforms. This is where repurposing multiplies your effort. A single idea can become multiple pieces of content for different platforms and formats. Here is an example of how repurposing works. Say you have an idea about a common mistake in your field. You write a detailed blog post explaining the mistake and how to avoid it. That is one piece. You extract the key points and create a thread on social media. That is another piece. You record yourself talking through the concept for a short video. Another piece. You discuss it on your podcast with additional examples. Another piece. You include it in your newsletter with a personal angle. Another piece. One idea has become 5 or more pieces of content. Each reaches a different segment of your audience in their preferred format. And you only had to think through the idea once. This is how prolific creators stay prolific. They are not generating 5 times as many ideas. They are extracting 5 times as much content from each idea. This is working smarter, not harder. Quality control is an important part of the content engine. Not every piece of content needs to be a masterpiece, but every piece needs to meet a minimum standard. What is that standard? At minimum, every piece should be accurate, clear, and helpful. It should reflect your positioning and voice. It should provide some value to your audience. Beyond the minimum, strive for a mix of content depths. Some content can be quick thoughts and observations. Some should be deeper dives that demonstrate substantive expertise. Some can be personal and vulnerable. Some can be purely educational. The mix keeps things interesting and appeals to different audience preferences. Analytics matter, but do not let them drive you crazy. Pay attention to what resonates and what does not. Double down on topics and formats that connect with your audience. But do not obsess over every metric fluctuation. The numbers should inform your direction, not dictate your mood. The final component of a sustainable content engine is energy management. Creative work requires mental energy. If you are depleted, your content suffers. So protect your creative capacity. Create when you are fresh, not exhausted. Take breaks. Stay inspired by consuming quality content from others. Do not let content creation become a grind that you dread. Remember, this is a long game. You need to be creating content for years, not weeks. Systems that burn you out are worthless, even if they produce impressive short-term output. Optimize for sustainability, and the compound effect will reward you. There is another aspect of the content engine that deserves attention: the art of the hook. In a world of infinite content, the first few seconds determine whether anyone engages with what you have created. You can have the most valuable content in the world, but if no one gets past the first line, that value goes unrealized. A hook is not clickbait. Clickbait promises something it does not deliver. A hook promises something it does deliver. The difference is integrity. Clickbait erodes trust. Hooks build it, because when people give their attention and receive real value, they learn to trust your hooks in the future. What makes an effective hook? Specificity over vagueness. A promise of useful information. An unexpected angle on a familiar topic. A question that demands an answer. A bold statement that creates curiosity. An emotion that resonates with your audience's experience. Consider the difference between how to be more productive and the 3-minute morning routine that eliminated my afternoon crash. The first is generic. The second is specific, time-bound, and addresses a problem that many people recognize in their own lives. The second is a hook. The first is just a topic. Practice writing hooks. For every piece of content you create, write 5 different opening lines. Pick the best one. Over time, you will develop an instinct for what grabs attention. This instinct is one of the most valuable skills in content creation. Also, pay attention to structure within your content. The hook gets them in, but the structure keeps them. For written content, this means clear organization, satisfying progressions, and payoffs that reward the reader for their attention. For audio and video content, this means pacing, variation, and moments of insight distributed throughout. Think of your content as a journey you are taking the audience on. Where does it start? Where does it end? What happens along the way? The best content has a clear arc, a sense of movement, a feeling that the audience is going somewhere meaningful. One more thought on content. The content that performs best often addresses either current pain or aspired gain. Current pain is the problems your audience is facing right now, the frustrations keeping them up at night, the obstacles blocking their progress. Aspired gain is the future they want to create, the achievements they dream about, the version of themselves they hope to become. When you understand your audience's pains and aspirations deeply, content ideas become obvious. You simply address what matters to them. You name their problems before they do. You articulate their dreams better than they can themselves. This creates the feeling that you understand them, which is the foundation of all influence. Which brings us to a related topic, the role of empathy in brand building. Empathy is not just a nice value to have, it is a strategic advantage. The more deeply you understand your audience, the more effectively you can serve them. And the more effectively you serve them, the more your brand grows. Empathy means understanding their language, the specific words and phrases they use to describe their situation. It means understanding their emotions, not just their logical needs, but how those needs feel. It means understanding their context, the constraints and pressures they operate under. It means understanding their journey, where they have been and where they want to go. When you speak from deep empathy, your audience feels seen. They feel like you get them in a way that others do not. This feeling is rare and valuable. People pay attention to those who understand them. People pay money to those who understand them. Empathy is the secret weapon of personal branding that nobody talks about enough. How do you develop empathy for your audience? You talk to them. Real conversations. Not surveys with checkbox answers, though those have their place. Actual human conversations where you ask open-ended questions and listen more than you speak. You ask about their challenges, their goals, their frustrations, their fears. You probe beneath the surface answers to understand what really drives them. These conversations are gold. They give you language to use in your content, language that resonates because it is borrowed from real people. They give you content ideas by revealing what your audience actually cares about. They give you offer ideas by uncovering what they would pay for. They give you confidence because you know you are not just guessing about what matters. Make audience conversations a regular practice. Even a few per month will dramatically improve your understanding. Schedule them. Protect the time. Treat them as essential to your brand building, because they are. Let me shift now to a different kind of leverage: relationships. Your network is often cited as your net worth. And there is truth to that cliché, though perhaps not in the way most people understand it. The value of a network is not just about who can help you directly. It is about the second and third order effects of being connected. It is about what opportunities flow through your connections. It is about how your association with certain people reflects on you. It is about the serendipity that comes from being in the right circles. Strategic relationship building is not about collecting business cards or LinkedIn connections. It is about cultivating genuine relationships with people who operate in your space or adjacent to it. People you can help and who might be able to help you. People whose work you admire and who might come to admire yours. The most important principle in relationship building is leading with generosity. The people who build the strongest networks are those who consistently give more than they take. They make introductions without expecting anything back. They share opportunities. They provide advice. They celebrate others' wins. They show up for others' launches and events. This generosity is not transactional. You do not give with the expectation of immediate return. You give because it is the right way to build relationships and because you genuinely want to help. But over time, this generosity compounds. People remember those who help them. They look for ways to reciprocate. They recommend you to others. The generosity flows back, often from unexpected directions. A useful way to think about your network is as a portfolio with different types of relationships. Peers are people at roughly your level in your field. These relationships provide mutual support, collaboration opportunities, and a sense of camaraderie. Mentors are people ahead of you who can provide guidance. These relationships accelerate your learning and open doors you could not open yourself. Mentees are people behind you who you can help. These relationships keep you grounded and often provide fresh perspectives. Connectors are people who know many people and enjoy making introductions. These relationships expand your reach exponentially. A healthy network includes all four types. If you only have peers, you lack guidance. If you only seek mentors, you are always taking. If you only have mentees, you lack peer support. If you only have connectors, your relationships are shallow. Let me tell you about a relationship strategy that has been transformative for many people I have worked with. It is called the Give First Protocol. It is simple in concept, but powerful in execution. The Give First Protocol works like this. Before you ever ask anyone for anything, you help them in some meaningful way. This might be sharing their content, making an introduction they would value, providing useful information, offering your expertise on a problem they face. The specific form of help depends on the person and context. After you have given, you might eventually ask for something, but by then, you have demonstrated your value and your character. The ask feels less like an imposition and more like a natural exchange between people who have already established a relationship. What most people do is the opposite. They approach new contacts with asks. Can you meet for coffee so I can pick your brain? Can you introduce me to this person? Can you provide feedback on my work? These asks might seem harmless, but they communicate something problematic. They say, I want something from you before I have given you anything. The Give First Protocol reverses this. It says, I want to be valuable to you. Let me demonstrate that. If mutual benefit emerges, great. If not, at least I have helped someone. This approach might seem slower, and it is initially. but it builds much stronger relationships than the transactional alternative. The people you help become genuine allies, not just contacts in a database. They want to help you because you have shown you are someone worth helping. Let me share an example of this in action. A man I will call Thomas wanted to connect with a well-known expert in his field. Instead of sending a cold email asking for advice or a meeting, he spent time understanding what this expert was working on. He noticed the expert was promoting a new book. Thomas bought the book. He read it carefully. He wrote a thoughtful review and posted it publicly. He shared it with his network. He tagged the expert when sharing. Then he sent a direct message. "I loved your book. Here's my review. No need to respond. I just wanted you to know your work made a difference." The expert noticed. Few people go to that effort. A genuine connection formed. Over the following months, Thomas continued to engage thoughtfully with the expert's content, always adding value, never asking for anything. When he eventually had a question that only this expert could answer, he asked, and received a warm, helpful response. "I've tried cold outreach before," Thomas told me. "It almost never works, but this approach is different. By the time I ask for something, I'm not a stranger anymore. I'm someone who has demonstrated that I'm worth their time." This is the Give First protocol in practice. It requires patience. It requires genuine interest in helping others. It requires doing things that have no immediate return. But it builds relationships that transactional networking never could. Now let us talk about a specific type of relationship that can accelerate your brand building dramatically: collaborations. A collaboration is when you partner with another person or brand on something. This might be a joint piece of content, a co-hosted event, a shared project, a cross-promotional arrangement. The key is that both parties bring something valuable and both parties benefit from the combination. Collaborations work because they multiply reach. When you collaborate with someone, you gain exposure to their audience, and they gain exposure to yours. Both networks expand. Both brands benefit. It is one of the fastest ways to grow visibility. But collaborations only work if there is genuine alignment. Forced partnerships are obvious and uncomfortable for audiences. Look for collaborators whose values match yours, whose audiences overlap but are not identical, whose strengths complement yours. The best collaborations feel natural because they are natural. How do you approach potential collaborators? With the Give First mindset, of course. Before proposing a collaboration, be valuable to them. Share their work, engage with their content, build familiarity. Then, when you propose collaboration, it comes from an established relationship rather than cold outreach. Make the collaboration easy for them to say yes to. Do most of the work yourself. Make the ask specific and clear. Explain the mutual benefit explicitly. Reduce any friction or risk on their end. The easier you make it, the more likely they are to agree. And when the collaboration happens, deliver excellence. This might be your one chance to prove yourself to their audience. Make it count. Over-deliver on your part. Make them look good by association with you. If you do this well, it opens doors for future collaborations, both with them and with others who notice. Masterminds deserve special mention in any discussion of relationships. A mastermind is a small group of peers who meet regularly to support each other's growth. The concept comes from Napoleon Hill's classic book, Think and Grow Rich, where he described a mastermind as the coordination of knowledge and effort between two or more people working toward a definite purpose. Masterminds provide accountability. When you commit to something in front of your mastermind group, you are more likely to follow through. They provide perspective. Others can see your blind spots and offer viewpoints you would not have reached alone. They provide support. Entrepreneurship and brand building can be lonely. A mastermind gives you people who understand your journey. You can join existing masterminds, or you can create your own. If creating your own, be selective about who you include. You want people at roughly similar levels who are committed to growth. You want diversity of perspective, but alignment of values. You want people who will both challenge and support you. The format of a mastermind varies, but typically involves regular meetings where each person gets time to share what they are working on, the challenges they face, and the support they need. The group then provides feedback, ideas, and accountability. Over time, these groups often become some of the most valuable relationships in members' professional lives. Now let us discuss something that nobody wants to think about, but everybody needs to be prepared for. What happens when things go wrong? Every brand faces storms. The longer you are visible, the more certain it becomes that at some point, something will go sideways. A client will be unhappy and complain publicly. A piece of content will be misunderstood or taken out of context. You will make a genuine mistake. Someone will attack you unfairly. How you handle these moments can define your brand as much as your best work. The first principle of crisis management is preparation. Do not wait until a crisis hits to think about how you will respond. Have a framework in mind. Know your values. Know what you will and will not tolerate. Know who you can call for advice when things get hard. When a crisis hits, the temptation is to react immediately, to defend yourself, to explain, to fight back. Resist this temptation, at least initially. Quick reactions often make things worse. They come from emotion rather than strategy. They can escalate situations that might have died down on their own. Instead, pause, assess, understand what actually happened. Talk to trusted advisors, then respond from a place of thought rather than reaction. The framework I recommend is acknowledge, address, and advance. Acknowledge what happened. If you made a mistake, own it. Do not make excuses. Do not minimize. Genuine acknowledgement is the first step toward repair. Address the situation. What will you do about it? How will you make it right? What will you change to prevent it from happening again? People want to see action, not just words. Advance forward. After acknowledging and addressing, move on. Do not dwell indefinitely. Do not keep apologizing. Make your repairs and continue with your work. Extended self-flagellation serves no one. The specifics of your response will depend on the specifics of the crisis. But this framework applies broadly. Acknowledge reality. Address the problem. Advance forward. Some crises do not deserve a response at all. Not every criticism is valid. Not every attack is worth engaging. Trolls seek attention. Giving it to them rewards the behavior. Sometimes the best response is no response. How do you decide when to engage and when to ignore? A few questions help. Is the criticism coming from someone whose opinion matters, either to you or to your audience? Is there a legitimate concern underneath the noise? Is engaging likely to resolve the situation or escalate it? Could silence be interpreted as agreement or avoidance? If the criticism is from someone relevant, raises a legitimate point, and engaging might resolve things. Consider responding. If the criticism is from a bad faith actor, raises no valid concern, and engaging would only provide oxygen, consider ignoring. One more point about crisis management. You can build crisis resilience in advance by building what I call reputation reserves. These are the trust deposits you have made over time, the goodwill you have accumulated, the track record you have established. When someone with extensive reputation reserves makes a mistake, people give them the benefit of the doubt. They remember all the good work. They assume positive intent. They are quick to forgive. When someone with no reputation reserves makes a mistake, there is nothing to draw from. Every judgment goes against them. The same mistake is treated much more harshly. This is another argument for consistent visibility and value creation over time. You are not just building presence. You are building reserves that will protect you when things go wrong. And things will go wrong eventually. Make sure you have reserves to draw from when they do. We are now approaching the question of scale. You have built identity, authority, visibility, and monetization. Things are working. Revenue is growing. Opportunities are expanding. How do you grow further without losing what made you valuable in the first place? This is the scaling paradox. The personal brand is personal. It is built on your individual identity, your unique perspective, your direct relationships. But you only have 24 hours in a day. At some point, growing requires either cloning yourself somehow or fundamentally changing what you offer. There are several paths through this paradox. Let me walk through them. One path is leverage without scale. This means maximizing the value of your time rather than trying to multiply your time. You do this through premium pricing, careful client selection, and ruthless focus. Instead of serving more clients at lower prices, you serve fewer clients at much higher prices. Your revenue grows without your hours growing. This path has limits, but they are higher than most people realize. There are consultants who charge 5 figures per day. There are coaches who charge 6 figures per engagement. There are speakers who command $50,000 for an hour on stage. These rates are only possible with strong brands, but if you have built the brand, the rates are achievable. Another path is productization. This means packaging your expertise into forms that do not require your direct involvement. Books, courses, templates, software. Once created, these products can sell indefinitely without additional time from you. The economics of productization are different from services. The upfront investment is higher. You might spend hundreds of hours creating a course, but once created, each sale requires nearly zero marginal effort. If the product sells well, the return on that upfront investment can be enormous. Productization also allows you to reach people you could never serve directly. Your book can be read by thousands while you sleep. Your course can teach students on the other side of the world. This expansion of reach increases your brand while generating revenue. A third path is team building. This means bringing in other people to deliver what you have created. You develop methodologies, train others to deliver them, and expand capacity beyond what you alone could handle. This is where personal brands get complicated. The brand is built on you, but you are now trying to scale beyond you. The key is to build systems and training that allow others to deliver your methodology while maintaining quality. Your role shifts from doing the work to overseeing the work and continuing to be the face of the brand. Some personal brands transition into agencies or firms this way. The founder remains the figurehead, the thought leader, the rainmaker. But a team does much of the delivery. This can work, but it requires careful management. The quality has to stay high. The brand promise has to be kept. It is easy for this transition to dilute what made the brand special. A fourth path is the media company model. This means treating your brand as a media property that generates audience attention, then monetizing that attention through various means. Sponsorships, advertising, premium content, events. The brand becomes a platform that others pay to access. This model works best for brands with very large audiences. It requires scale of attention before it generates significant revenue. But for those who achieve that scale, it can be extremely lucrative. And it requires relatively little time from the brand owner once the systems are in place. These paths are not mutually exclusive. Many successful personal brands combine elements of several. High-end services for some clients, products for broader reach, a small team for delivery support, some media company elements for additional revenue. The right combination depends on your goals, your market, and your preferences. What does not work is trying to scale without being intentional. Growing haphazardly leads to overwhelm, quality erosion, and brand dilution. If you are going to grow, grow strategically. Know what path you are on. Know what you are trading off. Make deliberate choices rather than reactive ones. There is another dimension to scaling that often gets overlooked: scaling yourself. As your brand grows, the demands on you will increase. More requests, more opportunities, more decisions. If you do not develop personally alongside your brand, you will become the bottleneck. This means investing in your own development, leadership skills as your team grows, communication skills as your audience expands, decision-making frameworks as complexity increases, energy management as demands multiply. The best personal brands are led by people who are constantly evolving, constantly developing, constantly becoming more capable. It also means protecting your capacity. As opportunities increase, the temptation is to say yes to everything. This leads to overcommitment, which leads to underperformance, which damages the brand you worked so hard to build. Strategic no's become more important as you grow. Saying no to good opportunities so you can say yes to great ones. Saying no to external demands so you can invest in internal development. Saying no to short-term gains that would compromise long-term positioning. The most successful personal brand builders I know are masters of prioritization. They have clarity about what matters most. They ruthlessly protect their time and energy for those priorities. They are comfortable disappointing people in the short term to serve them better in the long term. This discipline becomes more important, not less, as the brand grows. Another scaling consideration is systematizing what you do. In the early stages of brand building, everything is personal. You create every piece of content. You respond to every message. You make every decision. This is necessary and even valuable at first, but it does not scale. As you grow, you need to create systems that allow others to replicate what you do, at least for some functions. This might mean documented processes for content creation, templates for client communication, guidelines for how your brand voice shows up across platforms, training materials for team members. The goal is to create what I call a brand operating system, a set of systems, processes, and documentation that allows your brand to function even when you are not personally doing every task. This does not mean removing yourself entirely. Your personal involvement is part of what makes the brand valuable. But it means creating leverage so that your involvement can focus on the highest impact activities while systems handle the rest. Creating these systems takes time up front, but saves enormous time later. It also increases the value of your brand as an asset. A brand that depends entirely on your personal involvement is worth less than a brand that has transferable systems. If you ever want to sell your brand, license it, or transition to a different role within it, having systems in place makes that possible. Let me add one more thought on scaling: the importance of financial infrastructure. Many personal brands start as solo operations with simple finances. You get paid, you pay expenses, what is left is profit. But as you grow, financial complexity increases. You need accounting systems that can handle multiple revenue streams. You need legal structures that protect your personal assets. You need tax strategies that minimize your burden legally and ethically. You need financial planning that accounts for the variable income typical of personal brands. You need insurance that covers the risks your growing operation faces. These are not exciting topics, but neglecting them can be devastating. I have seen successful personal brands derailed by tax problems, by legal issues, by cash flow crises that proper systems would have prevented. Build your financial infrastructure before you desperately need it. Invest in good accountants and attorneys. Treat the financial foundation of your brand as seriously as you treat the creative side. As we near the end of our journey together, I want to address the long game. Personal brands are not built in months. They are built over years. The most valuable personal brands have been cultivating their presence for decades. They have survived trend cycles. They have evolved with their markets. They have maintained relevance through enormous changes in technology and culture. How do you build something that lasts that long? A few principles stand out. First, anchor your brand in timeless human needs rather than temporary trends. Tactics change, platforms change, but fundamental human needs remain constant. The need for guidance, the need for belonging, the need for transformation, the need for meaning. If your brand addresses these deeper needs, it will remain relevant even as surface-level trends come and go. Second, evolve continuously. The worst mistake long-standing brands make is becoming stagnant. They find a formula that works and cling to it even as the world changes around them. Successful, long-term brands stay curious. They keep learning. They update their perspectives. They embrace new platforms and technologies. They remain students even as they become teachers. Third, document and systematize. As your brand matures, the knowledge it contains should be captured explicitly. Your methodologies should be written down. Your processes should be documented. Your intellectual property should be organized. This documentation serves multiple purposes. It allows you to delegate. It creates assets you can sell or license. It ensures that your knowledge persists even if your memory fades. Fourth, think about legacy. At some point, you will step back from active brand building. What happens then? Is your brand so dependent on your daily presence that it evaporates when you do? Or have you built something that can persist beyond your active involvement? This might mean training successors. It might mean creating evergreen content and products. It might mean selling the brand to someone who will carry it forward. Thinking about legacy now, even if it seems far away, shapes decisions you make today. The 10-year vision is a useful exercise. Where do you want your brand to be in 10 years? What kind of work will you be doing? What kind of impact will you have? What kind of lifestyle will your brand enable? Let this vision guide your current choices. The decisions that seem small today compound dramatically over a decade. Here is a practice that many successful brand builders swear by: annual brand reviews. Once per year, step back and assess your brand holistically. Review what worked and what did not over the past year. Examine whether your positioning is still accurate and compelling. Audit your authority markers. Have they grown? Look at your monetization. Are you capturing appropriate value? Consider whether your visibility strategies are still optimal for your current goals. This annual review surfaces things that daily busyness obscures. It reveals drift, places where your brand has wandered from its core positioning. It identifies opportunities you have been too close to see. It highlights problems that have developed gradually and need addressing. Make this review a ritual. Block time for it. Treat it as essential brand maintenance. The annual review should also include a competitive analysis, not because you want to obsess over competitors, but because the landscape changes. New voices emerge. Existing players shift their positioning. What differentiated you 3 years ago might be common now. What was cutting edge is now baseline. Staying aware of the landscape helps you stay relevant and distinct within it. And do not forget to celebrate. Brand building is hard work over a long time. If you only focus on what needs improvement, you will burn out or lose motivation. Take time to acknowledge how far you have come. Recognize the wins. Feel proud of what you have built. This celebration is not vanity. It is fuel. It reminds you that progress is happening, that the effort is worthwhile, that the vision is coming into reality. Speaking of reality, let me address something important about expectations. The path of personal brand building is not linear. There will be periods of rapid growth and periods of stagnation. There will be breakthroughs that feel like everything is clicking and plateaus that feel like nothing is working. This is normal. This is expected. This is not a sign that you are failing. The people who succeed are those who persist through the plateaus. They understand that growth happens in spurts. They know that visible progress often follows long periods of invisible progress, seeds being planted that have not yet sprouted. They do not panic when things slow down. They do not abandon their strategy at the first sign of difficulty. They stay the course while remaining adaptable. This persistence requires faith, not blind faith, but evidence-based faith. Faith that the fundamentals you are practicing work. Faith that consistency compounds. Faith that if you keep showing up with value, the results will come. This faith is tested repeatedly. Every time growth stalls, every time a piece of content flops, every time you see someone with a weaker brand somehow getting opportunities you want, your faith will be tested. Let it be strengthened by the testing rather than destroyed by it. Remember also that comparison to others is almost always misleading. You see their highlights, you experience your full reality, you see their results, you do not see their struggles. You see where they are now. You do not see the years of work that got them there. Compare yourself only to your past self. That is the only fair comparison. That is the only comparison that tells you whether you are actually making progress. Let me share one more real-life scenario to illustrate how these principles come together over time. A man I will call Michael started building his personal brand 15 years ago. At the time, he was a junior employee at a consulting firm with no special credentials or connections. He had only one thing, a commitment to showing up consistently and sharing what he learned. For the first 2 years, almost no one paid attention. He wrote blog posts that a few dozen people read. He spoke at local events that a few dozen people attended. He connected with others in his field, one by one. The progress was imperceptible. Around year 3, something shifted. His consistency had attracted a small but loyal audience. Someone shared one of his posts widely, and his traffic spiked. Then it settled back down, but at a higher baseline than before. He kept going. By year 5, he had quit his job and was consulting independently. His rates were modest but growing. He had published a book that sold steadily, if not spectacularly. He had built genuine relationships with influential people in his field. He was known, though not famous. By year 10, his rates had tripled. He was turning down more work than he accepted. His second book had become a standard reference in his industry. He was regularly invited to speak at major conferences. He had enough reputation reserves to weather occasional criticism without damage. His brand was a genuine asset. Now, at year 15, he is at another level entirely. He has a small team. He has diversified revenue streams. He advises major organizations. He is mentioned in the same breath as the established names in his field. Young professionals seek him out for the mentorship he once sought from others. When asked about his success, he says something instructive. "There's no secret," he explains. "I just kept going. Most people who started when I did gave up somewhere along the way. They got discouraged, they got distracted, they decided it wasn't working and moved on to something else. I just kept going, year after year, building a little bit more, and it compounded." That is the truth of long-term brand building. It compounds. The visibility compounds. The authority compounds. The relationships compound. The opportunities compound. But only if you keep going. Only if you treat this as a long game rather than a quick win. We have covered an enormous amount of ground together. You now understand the invisibility tax and how it has been draining your potential. You understand the empire of one model and its 4 interconnected pillars. You know how to extract your unique identity and position yourself distinctively. You know how to build authority even if you are starting from zero. You know how to create sustainable visibility without burning out. You know how to convert attention into trust and trust into revenue. You know how to build a content engine that runs indefinitely. You know how to leverage relationships strategically. You know how to prepare for and handle crises. You know how to scale without losing what makes you valuable. You know how to build for the long term. This knowledge is worth nothing if you do not act on it. Let me leave you with this final charge. Do not wait until everything is perfect. Do not wait until you feel ready. Do not wait until you have figured it all out. The figuring out happens through action, not before it. Start with one thing. Maybe it is clarifying your positioning statement. Maybe it is setting up your idea capture system. Maybe it is reaching out to someone who could become a valuable relationship. Maybe it is creating your first piece of content or your 50th. Pick one thing and do it this week, then pick the next thing and the next. Small actions compound into transformations. A year from now, you will look back at the brand you have built and be amazed at how far you have come, but only if you start now. The world needs what you have to offer. Your expertise, your perspective, your unique combination of experiences and insights, these are valuable. Not to everyone, but to someone, to many someones. And those people cannot benefit from what you have unless they can find you. Make yourself findable. Make yourself known. Build your empire of one. You started this audiobook invisible, perhaps overlooked, perhaps undervalued, perhaps watching others succeed while wondering what they knew that you did not. Now you know what they know. You have the frameworks, you have the strategies, you have the understanding. The only difference between you and those who build successful personal brands is action. Sustained, consistent, patient action over time. 1 year from today, your name could be the one that comes to mind when someone needs what you offer. Your inbox could be full of opportunities you did not have to chase. Your rates could reflect your actual value. Your reputation could be doing the selling while you focus on the work you love. This future is available to you. It is not guaranteed. Nothing is guaranteed. But it is available. The path is clear. The only question is whether you will walk it. So walk it. Start today, keep going tomorrow. And the day after that. And the year after that. One person, one brand, one empire. The world is about to learn your name. Make sure it is unforgettable. But before we truly part ways, I want to go deeper on something we touched on earlier. Something that might be the difference between you actually building this empire and simply having listened to an audiobook about building one. That something is the psychology of starting. Most people who listen to content like this feel motivated in the moment. They feel inspired. They make mental notes about all the things they are going to do differently. And then they return to their regular lives, and nothing changes. The motivation fades. The intentions get buried under daily demands. Weeks pass, months pass. They are in exactly the same place they were before, except now they have the added burden of knowing what they should be doing and not doing it. This is not a failure of information, it is a failure of implementation. And implementation failures are almost always psychological, not tactical. So let us talk about what actually gets in the way. Let us shine a light on the internal obstacles so you can see them for what they are and push past them. The first obstacle is perfectionism. Perfectionism disguises itself as having high standards. It tells you that you should wait until your positioning is exactly right, until your website is perfectly designed, until your content is flawless, until you feel completely ready. It tells you that putting anything less than perfect out into the world would be embarrassing, damaging, counterproductive. This is a lie perfectionism tells to keep you safe. Safe from criticism, safe from failure, safe from the vulnerability of being seen. But safe is not where empires are built. Safe is where potential goes to die. Here is the truth. Your first attempt at anything will not be your best. It cannot be. Excellence comes from iteration, and iteration requires a starting point. That starting point will be imperfect by definition. The question is not whether your first attempts will be flawed. They will be. The question is whether you will let that inevitability stop you from starting at all. Done is better than perfect. Shipped is better than polished. Visible and imperfect beats invisible and theoretically perfect every single time. You can refine as you go. You can improve with each iteration. You cannot improve what does not exist. Give yourself permission to be a beginner. Give yourself permission to be mediocre at first. Give yourself permission to learn in public. The people who build empires are not the ones who wait until everything is perfect. They are the ones who start before they are ready and figure it out along the way. The second obstacle is comparison. The moment you start building your brand, you will notice others who are further along. They have bigger audiences. They have more polished content. They have achievements you do not have yet. And it will be tempting to conclude that you are too far behind, that the market is too crowded, that there is no room for you. This is a distortion. You are comparing your beginning to their middle or their end. You are comparing your behind the scenes to their highlight reel. You are ignoring the years of work they put in before they got to where they are now. Everyone who has built something started from zero. Every big audience was once small. Every polished brand was once rough. Every expert was once a beginner. The people you admire went through the same uncertain early stages you are about to go through. They just did not quit. Instead of comparing yourself to others, compare yourself to where you were. Are you further along than you were 6 months ago? Are you further along than you were last year? This is the only comparison that matters. Your journey is your own. Your timeline is your own. The only person you need to be better than is the person you were yesterday. The third obstacle is fear of judgment. When you make yourself visible, you open yourself to criticism. People might disagree with you. People might not like you. People might say things that sting. This fear of negative response keeps many talented people invisible. Here is a reframe that might help. If you are not getting some criticism, you are probably not saying anything meaningful. Bland content that offends no one also inspires no one. The same specificity that attracts your ideal audience will repel those who are not your ideal audience. This is a feature, not a bug. Moreover, the critics who matter are far fewer than your fear suggests. Most people are too busy with their own lives to spend energy criticizing yours. The small minority who do criticize are often doing so from their own insecurities, their own frustrations, their own sense of lack. Their criticism says more about them than about you. And here is the deeper truth. The people whose opinions you truly respect, the people who have built what you want to build, those people are not going to criticize you for trying. They know how hard it is. They know how much courage it takes. They will respect you for showing up, even imperfectly. It is only those who have never tried who mock those who do. The fourth obstacle is the myth of the overnight success. We see people who seem to come out of nowhere and achieve rapid success. It looks like magic. It looks like luck. It makes our own slow progress feel inadequate by comparison. But overnight successes are almost always illusions. Behind every apparent overnight success is years of invisible work. The author who becomes a bestseller has usually written multiple books before, often unsuccessfully. The speaker who goes viral has usually given hundreds of talks nobody saw. The consultant who is suddenly everywhere has usually spent years building relationships nobody noticed. What looks like overnight is usually over years. You just were not watching during the preparation phase. Now that you are watching, you see only the results. Accept that your success will likely come the same way. Slowly, then suddenly. Invisible progress that compounds until it becomes visible results. This is how it works for almost everyone. The overnight sensation is the exception so rare it proves the rule. The fifth obstacle is the identity gap. Right now, you might not see yourself as someone who has a personal brand. You might not see yourself as an authority, a thought leader, a person worth following. Your self-image has not caught up with your potential. This is normal, but it is also limiting, because you tend to act in accordance with how you see yourself. If you see yourself as a nobody, you will act like a nobody. If you see yourself as someone building an empire, you will act accordingly. Identity shifts are uncomfortable, but necessary. At some point, you have to start seeing yourself differently than you currently do. You have to adopt the identity of the person you are becoming, not the person you have been. This feels like pretending at first. It feels inauthentic, but it is not pretending. It is stepping into a future version of yourself that is already within you, waiting to be claimed. Act as if you are the person with the successful brand, even before the external evidence catches up, not in a delusional way that ignores reality, but in a way that shapes your behavior toward the outcomes you want. The identity leads, the evidence follows. Now that we have named these psychological obstacles, let me give you some practical strategies for overcoming them. Commitment devices are powerful. A commitment device is something that makes it harder to quit than to continue. This might be telling others about your plans, so you have accountability. It might be investing money in your brand, so you have skin in the game. It might be scheduling content in advance, so there is something published even if you lose motivation on any given day. Remove the option to easily give up, and you will find yourself pushing through resistance that would have stopped you otherwise. Environment design matters more than willpower. If your environment makes building your brand easy, you will do it more. If your environment makes it hard, you will do it less. Set up your workspace for content creation. Keep your idea capture tool accessible. Block distracting websites during your creative time. Remove friction from the behaviors you want and add friction to the behaviors you do not want. Small wins create momentum. Do not start with the most ambitious project. Start with something achievable. One piece of content, one connection made, one small improvement to your positioning. Complete it. Feel the satisfaction of completion. Let that satisfaction fuel the next small win. Chain enough small wins together, and you have built something significant. Community accelerates everything. Find others who are on the same journey. This might be a mastermind group. It might be an online community. It might be a few peers you check in with regularly. The journey of building a personal brand can be lonely. Community makes it less so. Community provides accountability, support, perspective, and celebration. Do not try to do this alone if you do not have to. Let me also share some common mistakes to avoid as you implement what you have learned. Do not try to do everything at once. The empire of one model has many components. You cannot build all of them simultaneously, at least not well. Pick one or two areas to focus on first. Get those working. Then expand. Trying to do everything at once is a recipe for doing nothing well. Do not neglect consistency for creativity. It is tempting to always try something new, to chase every trend, to experiment constantly. Some experimentation is healthy, but consistency is more important. Showing up regularly with good content beats showing up sporadically with great content. Master the boring fundamentals before you get fancy. Do not ignore the data, but do not worship it either. Pay attention to what resonates with your audience, but do not become so obsessed with metrics that you lose sight of your mission. Some of your best content might not perform well initially. Some of what performs best might not be your best work. Use data to inform, not to dictate. Do not compare your monetization timeline to others. Some people monetize quickly. Others take years to see significant revenue from their brand. Both timelines can lead to success. Your timeline depends on your niche, your audience, your offers, and factors beyond your control. Trust the process. Keep building value. The monetization will come. Do not sacrifice your well-being for your brand. Burnout helps no one. You cannot build a sustainable empire if you destroy yourself in the process. Protect your energy. Take breaks. Maintain relationships outside of work. Remember that your brand is meant to serve your life, not consume it. I want to give you a framework for the first 90 days, a concrete roadmap to get you started on the right foot. In the first 30 days, focus on foundation. Complete your Only You audit. Craft your positioning statement. Choose your primary platforms. Set up your idea capture system. Create your content pillars. This month is about clarity. By the end of it, you should know exactly who you are, who you serve, and where you will show up. In the second 30 days, focus on visibility. Start creating content consistently. Aim for a minimum viable frequency, perhaps twice a week. Begin reaching out to potential relationships. Document your credibility markers. Start gathering testimonials if you have any previous work to draw from. This month is about showing up. By the end of it, you should have a presence that did not exist before. In the third 30 days, focus on momentum. Review what has worked in your content and do more of it. Make your first offer, even if it is small. Deepen the relationships you started. Begin building your authority through teaching or publishing. This month is about acceleration. By the end of it, you should have proof that your brand is gaining traction. After 90 days, you will have a foundation to build on. You will have learned more from doing than you could ever learn from planning. You will have evidence of what works for you and your audience. From there, you can adjust, expand, and compound. Let me leave you with one final thought about why this matters beyond the money and the career advancement. When you build a personal brand, you are doing more than advancing yourself. You are contributing to something larger. You are sharing knowledge that helps others. You are adding your unique voice to important conversations. You are modeling what is possible for others who might follow your path. The world needs more people who are willing to stand up and be counted. More people willing to share what they know. More people willing to take the vulnerability of being visible. Not everyone will do this. Most people will stay safe and small and invisible. But you can choose differently. Every person who builds a meaningful brand makes the world a little bit richer, a little bit more diverse in perspective, a little bit more full of freely shared knowledge. You matter. Your contribution matters. Even if you reach only a small audience, those people's lives can be changed by what you share. So do not think of this as merely a career strategy, though it is that. Think of it as a form of service. You have been given certain gifts, certain experiences, certain knowledge. Keeping them hidden serves no one. Sharing them serves many. This is your permission slip if you needed one. Permission to be seen. Permission to charge for your value. Permission to build something that carries your name. Permission to matter. You have everything you need. The frameworks are yours. The strategies are clear. The path is laid out. Now walk it. One person, one brand, one empire. Starting now. Starting today. Starting with whatever small step you can take in this next hour. The compound effect is waiting to work in your favor. But it only works if you start. It only compounds if you continue. It only transforms if you persist. Your future self is counting on the decision you make right now. Do not let them down. You have listened to these words for hours. You have invested time and attention that you can never get back. Honor that investment. Make it mean something. Let this be the audiobook that actually changed things, not just another one you consumed and forgot. The invisible tax stops being collected the moment you decide to become visible. That moment can be now, right now, as soon as these final words fade. I believe in what you can build. I believe in the value you have to offer. I believe that 1 year from now, you can be in a completely different place than you are today. But my belief is not enough. You have to believe it too. You have to believe it enough to act, to start, to keep going. So believe it and begin. Your empire of one is waiting to be built. The world is waiting to learn your name. Do not keep them waiting any longer. This is where we part. This is where your work begins. Go build something remarkable. You have everything you need. Now go prove it.